Entropy. Everything in this universe, from the stars burning in the void to the cells in your own body, is moving in one direction. From order to chaos, from energy to exhaustion. We are told that this is the natural order. We are told that decay is the price of existence. We are taught from birth that we are batteries designed to drain, and that death is the only inevitable outcome of life. But there is a flaw in that logic. There is a rebellious variable in the equation. If we are designed to decay, why does the human mind possess the capacity to imagine eternity? Why do we build monuments of stone to outlast our bones? Why do we write books to outlast our brains? Nature does not evolve a desire for a resource that does not exist. A fish does not dream of fire. So why does a mortal man dream of immortality? This is where the history books fail us. They tell us alchemy was a precursor to modern chemistry, a primitive attempt to turn lead into gold for financial gain. This is a cover story. It is a deliberate distraction. The alchemists were not chemists. They were early biological engineers. They looked at the law of entropy, the law that says everything must rot, and they asked a dangerous question. Is this law absolute? Or is it a frequency we can tune out of? They looked at gold and saw the answer. Gold is the only metal that does not rust. It does not corrode. It ignores the oxygen that kills iron. It sits in the earth for 1 billion years and remains pure. Gold is the only substance in the material world that has hacked the code of entropy. It is immortal matter. And the alchemist realized something terrifying. If nature can produce immortal matter, why can't it produce an immortal man? The premise of the Magnum Opus is not to get rich. It is to fix a defect in the human condition. We are currently vibrating at the frequency of lead. Saturn, heavy, dense, consumed by time. Our consciousness is reactive, driven by the survival scripts of the lizard brain. We are asleep in the cockpit of a machine we do not know how to fly. But the potential for gold, the potential for a consciousness that does not degrade, sits dormant in the DNA. It is a sleeper agent waiting for an activation code. The uninitiated call this magic. The alchemist calls it the operations. Just as you cannot turn a wolf into a dog without generations of selective breeding, you cannot turn a man into a god without a process of selective destruction. You cannot simply meditate your way out of the lead state. You cannot wish away the laws of physics. You have to break them. And to break them, you need a methodology that is as precise as mathematics and as violent as birth. This brings us to the ladder. The Emerald Tablet lays out the theory. As above, so below. But the 7 operations lay out the mechanics. Calcination, dissolution, separation, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, coagulation. These are not poetic metaphors for feeling better. They are the 7 stages of refining a substance. They are the industrial processing of the human soul. To move from lead to gold, you must subject the ego to heat, to acid, to pressure, and to time. You must burn away the conditioning of society. You must dissolve the trauma of the past. You must separate the voice of the simulation from the voice of the observer. Most people will never do this. Most people are content to rust like iron in the rain, convincing themselves that rust is noble. But you are not here for nobility. You are here for the glitch. You are here because you suspect that the lead version of you is not the final draft. And you are right. The ingredients are already in your blood. Sulfur, the drive. Mercury, the mind. Salt, the body. But they are raw. They are sleeping. We are about to wake them up. We are about to initiate the sequence that turns the biological machine against its own programming. The 7 operations are not a study. They are an execution. The execution of the old you. Prepare the vessel. The fire is lit. Module 1 is calcination. Look at a forest after a wildfire. To the untrained eye, it looks like a graveyard. Charred trunks, black soil, silence. But to the biologist, it looks like a womb. There are certain seeds, pine cones, sequoias, that are sealed shut with a resin so hard it is like stone. These seeds can sit on the forest floor for 100 years, dormant, sleeping. They contain the blueprint of a giant, but they are trapped in their own armor. There is only one thing that can melt the resin and trigger the seed to open: extreme heat. They require a catastrophe to be born. This is the biological reality of calcination. In the laboratory of the soul, we are all seeds sealed in resin. We call this resin the ego. We call it personality. We call it identity. We spend our lives polishing this shell. We decorate it with job titles, with social status, with the approval of others. We believe the shell is the tree. But the alchemist knows the truth. The shell is a coffin, and the only way to get to the life inside is to burn the coffin. This is why the first operation is fire, not water, not air. Fire. Because you cannot negotiate with the ego. You cannot reason with a survival mechanism that has been evolving for millions of years to keep you safe, small, and compliant. You have to starve it. You have to heat it until it cracks. In chemical alchemy, calcination is the process of heating a substance in a crucible until it is reduced to ash. You take the lead, the plant, or the metal, and you apply intense flame. The water evaporates. The oils burn off. The impurities turn to smoke.
Let the ashes reveal the sacred fire.
Eventually, you are left with nothing but a dry white powder. The alchemist calls this the salt. It is the indestructible core of the matter. Everything that could burn, did burn. What is left is what is real. Apply this to your own life. Most people go through a passive calcination. It happens to them by accident. A divorce, a bankruptcy, a sudden death in the family, a public humiliation. These events feel like the end of the world. The ego screams, it panics. It tries to hold on to the old reality. But the alchemist does not wait for life to burn him. He lights the fire himself. He initiates active calcination. What does this look like? It looks like the deliberate removal of every crutch you use to prop up your false self. It is the silence you avoid by checking your phone. It is the truth you avoid by blaming others. It is the frantic need for validation, for noise, for distraction. The alchemist identifies these volatile elements, these things that are not him, and he throws them into the furnace. He sits in the silence until the silence burns. He stops feeding the stories of the past. He stops defending his reputation. He lets the image of himself die. This is a terrifying process. When the resin begins to melt, it feels like you are dying. And in a way, you are. The version of you that needs to be right, the version that needs to be liked, the version that is afraid of the future, that version is combustible material. It is meant to burn. We are told that suffering is bad. We are medicated to avoid pain. We are distracted to avoid boredom. But the alchemist views suffering differently. He views it as fuel. The heat of your frustration, the heat of your anger, the heat of your anxiety. This is not energy to be suppressed. It is the fire under the crucible. If you run from the fire, you remain lead. You remain a seed on the forest floor, safe in your armor, but dead inside. But if you stay in the fire, if you let the heat rise, something happens. The smoke clears, the drama evaporates, and you are left with something white, dry, and pure. You are left with the ash. This is the first victory. You are no longer the heavy, confused block of lead. You are now the white salt. You have been reduced to your essence. But be warned, ash is dry. Ash is thirsty. Ash is brittle. The fire has done its work, but the work is not finished. The ego is dead, but the spirit is parched. The alchemist looks at the dry white powder in the bottom of the flask and knows what comes next. The ash creates a vacuum. It screams for the opposite of fire. It screams for the flood. The heat is over. The rains are coming. The fire has died down. The smoke has cleared. You are left standing in the ruins of your old life. You feel lighter, yes. You feel stripped of the unnecessary. But you also feel dry. You feel brittle. In the aftermath of calcination, the alchemist often falls into a trap. He mistakes hardness for strength. He becomes stoic. He becomes cold. He looks at his emotions as weaknesses that he has successfully burned away. He thinks he has won, but he has not won. He has simply created ash, and ash, for all its purity, is dead. It cannot grow. It cannot connect. It creates nothing. If you stop the work here, you become the tyrant. You become the rigid intellectual who knows everything but feels nothing. To continue the evolution, the ash must be destroyed again. It must be drowned.
Yield.
In the laboratory, the alchemist takes the white ash from the crucible and pours it into water. This seems counterintuitive. Why take something you just spent weeks purifying with fire and muddy it with water? Because of the law of solubility. Water is the universal solvent. It has the power to break down the rigid molecular bonds of the salt and return it to a state of chaos. Psychologically, this is the most dangerous phase of the Magnum Opus. This is dissolution. If calcination was the battle, dissolution is the defeat. If calcination was the active destruction of the ego, dissolution is the passive surrender to the subconscious. It is the breaking of the dam. We all spend our lives building levees in our minds. We push down the memories that hurt us. We repress the traumas that scare us. We hold back the ocean of the shadow self so we can function in the daylight. Calcination weakened those walls, but dissolution breaks them. This phase often manifests in the alchemist's life as a sudden, inexplicable flood of emotion. It is the dark night of the soul. It is a deep, heavy melancholy that seemingly comes from nowhere. You might find yourself crying over something trivial. You might find yourself paralyzed by a lack of motivation. The things that used to drive you, ambition, competition, hunger, suddenly feel meaningless. The world feels gray. You feel like you are sinking. The modern world calls this depression. They treat it as a malfunction. They prescribe pills to dry up the water. They tell you to get back to work. But the alchemist knows better. This is not a malfunction. This is a necessary chemical reaction. The water is not there to drown you. It is there to soften you. Look at the chemistry. When salt dissolves in water, it disappears. It becomes invisible. But it is not gone. It is actually expanding. The rigid crystal structure is broken apart, and the ions are spread throughout the liquid. The solid becomes fluid. The local becomes omnipresent. This is what is happening to your consciousness during dissolution. The rigid I that you fought so hard to protect is dissolving into the ocean of the we. You are losing your definition. This is terrifying for the ego. The ego loves boundaries. It loves to say, "This is me," and "That is you." Water erases boundaries. During this phase, the alchemist stops trying to control the process. He stops fighting the current. He realizes that his willpower is useless here. You cannot punch the ocean. You can only float. This is the lesson of the flood. All the ancient myths speak of a great flood that wipes the earth clean after a period of corruption. Noah, Gilgamesh, Atlantis. These are not just stories about rain. They are alchemical allegories for the dissolution of the collective consciousness. The world must be washed before it can be reborn. Your world is no different. The ash of your burnt ego must be washed. The unprocessed grief, the silent rage, the tears you never cried as a child, they are all stored in the body. They are the toxicity trapped in the ash. Dissolution releases them. It flushes the system. It is messy. It is exhausting. It feels like you are losing your mind. But you are simply washing the vessel. You are preparing the solution for the next reaction. So do not fear the tears. Do not fear the heaviness. Do not run from the sadness. Let it rise. Let it break the levees. Let the water take the ash. Because only when the solution is fluid can the true separation begin. The solid is gone. The solution is clear. The floodwaters have finally receded. You have survived the drowning of dissolution. But look at the landscape of your mind. It is a mess. The ash of the ego has mixed with the water of the emotions to create a thick, muddy sludge. Everything is confused. You don't know what is you and what is your trauma. You don't know which thoughts are your own and which thoughts were planted by your parents, your teachers, or the algorithm. You are fluid, yes, but you are polluted. If you stop here, you become the lost soul. You become the person who is deep, sensitive, and empathetic, but completely non-functional. You have feelings, but no direction. You have depth, but no definition. To build the God, we must now introduce the third element, air, the intellect, the knife. In the physical laboratory, this is the stage of filtration. The alchemist takes the muddy solution and passes it through a sieve, or he pours it into a centrifuge and spins it at high velocity. Why? To force a distinction between the subtle and the gross, to separate the gold from the dross. He creates a boundary. This is the operation of separation. In the ancient texts, this is often depicted as a warrior wielding a sword or an angel cutting a chain. It is an aggressive act. It is the act of dissection. After the surrender of the water, you must now reclaim the authority of the mind. But this is not the monkey mind of the lead state, the mind that worries about bills and gossip. This is the higher mind, the observer. The alchemist stands over the sludge of his own psyche and starts to ask the hard questions. This fear I am feeling, does it belong to me? Or is it a genetic echo from my ancestors? This ambition I have, do I actually want this? Or was I programmed to want it? He starts to cut. He cuts away the beliefs that are outdated. He filters out the emotions that are reactive. He isolates the I am from the I have. This is the most intellectual phase of the great work. It requires cold, brutal honesty. You are looking at the raw data of your own programming. You are debugging the code. Most people are terrified of separation because they are hoarders of identity. They want to keep everything. They want to be the victim and the victor. They want to be spiritual and material. They want to keep their old friends while ascending to a new life. But the alchemist knows that synthesis is impossible without analysis. You cannot mix things until you know exactly what they are. So you separate. You separate your circle. You leave the people who vibrate at the frequency of lead. You separate your habits. You discard the rituals that keep you asleep. You separate your time. You distinguish between production and distraction. You become sharp. You become discerning. The nice guy dies here. The pleaser dies here. Because to separate the gold, you have to be willing to throw away the dirt. And there is a lot of dirt. There is a holy dimension to this. The word holy comes from the Hebrew word kadosh, It literally means set apart, separated. To be holy is not to be a saint. It is to be distinct. It is to be removed from the common mass. During separation, you are making yourself holy. You are pulling your consciousness out of the collective hive mind. You are retrieving your energy from the news, from the politics, from the drama of the tribe. You are gathering your pieces. And as the mud clears, something begins to shine in the bottom of the flask. It is the first glimpse of the primes in their pure state. You see the sulfur, your true drive, stripped of anxiety. You see the mercury, your true intelligence, stripped of dogma. You are no longer a muddy mixture. You are becoming a collection of pure elements. The confusion is gone. The heaviness of the water has evaporated into the lightness of air. You can breathe again. You can see again. But there is a danger in air. Air is cold. Air is distant. You have separated the elements, but they are now sitting in isolation. They are pure, but they are lonely. The warrior has cut the chains, but he is standing alone on the battlefield. The parts are clean. Now, they must be reintroduced. But this time, they will not meet as enemies. They will meet as lovers. The separation is complete. The union begins. The knife has done its work. You have separated the gold from the dross. You are clean. You are distinct. You are holy. But you are also fragmented. In the process of separation, you pulled everything apart. You isolated your intellect, air, from your emotions, water. You isolated your spirit, fire, from your body, earth. If you stay here, you become schizophrenic, not clinically, but spiritually. You become a person who can analyze the universe but cannot live in it. You become a person who understands love theoretically, but cannot feel it viscerally. The alchemist knows that analysis is only half the equation. The other half is synthesis. The parts must be reassembled. But they must be reassembled in a new order. They must not be thrown back together into the chaos of the mud. They must be carefully, consciously fused. This is the operation of conjunction. The element is earth. The goal is tangibility. In the ancient alchemical texts, this phase is always depicted as a marriage, the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage. You will see images of the Red King, sulfur/masculine, embracing the White Queen, Mercury/feminine, or the rebus, a two-headed being that is both male and female. This is not about gender. This is about polarity. The universe runs on binary code, positive and negative, active and passive, logic and intuition, sun and moon. During the lead state, these forces within you were at war. Your head fought your heart. Your desires fought your discipline. But during conjunction, the war ends. The treaty is signed. You begin to reintegrate the purified elements. You take the fierceness of the fire, calcination, and you marry it to the fluidity of the water, dissolution. You take the sharpness of the air, separation, and you ground it into the stability of the earth. You become whole. This is the stage where the magician is born. Before this, you were just a victim of the process. You were being burned, drowned, and cut. Now, you are the architect. You start to see the results in your physical reality. This is often called the lesser stone. You feel a sudden surge of power. Your health improves. Your finances stabilize. Your relationships deepen. You feel centered. You feel like you have finally figured it out. You have balanced the chakras. You have aligned the frequencies. And this is the trap. Conjunction is the most seductive phase of the Magnum Opus because it feels like the finish line. It feels like victory. Many alchemists stop here. They become the successful man. They become the enlightened guru. They have achieved balance and they settle into it. But the great work is not about balance. Balance is static. Balance is safe. The great work is about transcendence. And you cannot transcend if you are comfortable. The alchemist looks at this beautiful, balanced, lesser stone he has created, the perfect marriage of his mind and soul, and he makes a terrifying decision. He realizes that this perfection is still human. It is still bound by the laws of mortality. It is still a biological product. To reach the final state, to reach the God state, this new perfect self must die. It must be sacrificed. The seed has grown into a flower, yes, but for the flower to become fruit, the flower must rot. The honeymoon is over. The terror is returning. We have built the vessel only to break it one last time. The alchemist takes the stone and throws it back into the dark. The marriage is complete. The death awaits. You have achieved this sacred marriage. You are balanced. You are calm. You are centered. You have created the lesser stone. And now, the alchemist hands you a shovel and tells you to bury it. He tells you that this beautiful, balanced version of yourself must die. This is the phase of fermentation. It is the most counterintuitive step in the entire Magnum Opus. Logic dictates that if you build something perfect, you protect it. But nature dictates that if you want something to evolve, you must kill it. Look at the grape. A grape is perfect. It is sweet, it is balanced, it is a marvel of biological engineering. But as long as it remains a grape, it will eventually wither and turn to dust. It has no spirit. It has no permanence. To become wine, to become a substance that captures the spirit, the grape must be crushed. It must be thrown into the dark. And most importantly, it must rot. It must undergo putrefaction. Bacteria must invade it. The structure must collapse. It must become toxic before it becomes divine. This is the horrifying reality of Module 6. Fermentation is the introduction of a new life force into the product of conjunction, but this life force looks like death. Psychologically, this is the second dark night of the soul. But this is different from dissolution. Dissolution was the washing away of the past. Fermentation is the rotting of the present. It is the death of your spiritual ego. You see, after conjunction, you start to feel special. You feel like an awakened being. You judge others. You feel superior to the sleepers. You have traded a material ego for a spiritual ego. And the spiritual ego is far more dangerous because it hides behind the mask of holiness. Fermentation is the process that kills this arrogance. It strips you of your zen. You might experience a sudden collapse of your faith. You might feel abandoned by the universe. The magic stops working. The synchronicities stop happening. You are plunged into a darkness deeper than any you have known, because this time you thought you were past it. You thought you had won. And now you are rotting in the ground. The alchemists called this the caput mortuum, the deadhead. But watch the flask closely in the dark. As the matter rots, as the ego dissolves completely into the blackness, something strange happens. Gases are released, heat is generated from the decay, and suddenly, colors appear. Iridescent, shifting, impossible colors. The alchemists called this the cauda pavonis, the peacock's tail. It is the sign that the spirit is being released from the prison of the form. Just as the rotting grape releases alcohol, the spirit of the wine, your rotting ego is releasing your true, immortal essence. You are realizing that you are not the body. You are not the mind. You are not even the balanced self. You are the energy that survives the rot. You are the witness. This phase separates the tourists from the masters. The tourists run when the rot sets in. They run back to their positive affirmations and their light-filled workshops. They cannot handle the stench of their own death. But the master stays in the grave. He waits. He knows that the resurrection is not a metaphor. He knows that the only way to the gold is through the black. He lets the rot consume everything that is temporal, so that only the eternal remains. Fermentation changes the chemistry of the soul. It turns the human experience into a mystical experience. You are no longer just a balanced human. You are a vessel for something else, something ancient. The fermentation is complete. The wine is brewed. But it is still cloudy. It is still wild. It contains the spirit, yes, but it is mixed with the dregs of the decay. It is powerful, but it is not yet pure. We must lift the spirit out of the muck. We must rise. The grave is open. The vapor is rising. The rot is finished. The ego has died in the grave of fermentation. The spirit has been released from the shell. But look at the flask. What you have is a potent mixture, but it is dirty. It is wild. It is chaotic. The wine of your soul is full of sediment. It contains the wisdom of the spirit, yes, but it is still dragged down by the heaviness of the animal nature. If you stop here, you become the crazy wisdom archetype. You become the shaman who can talk to spirits but cannot pay his rent. You become the artist who touches the divine but destroys his body with addiction. The power is there, but the purity is missing. To finish the work, we must defy gravity. We must introduce the operation of distillation. In the laboratory, this is the most beautiful phase to watch. The alchemist takes the fermented mixture and applies gentle heat, not the destroying fire of calcination, but the elevating heat of the sun. As the liquid warms, something miraculous happens. The spirit, the alcohol, the essence, begins to separate from the water and the dregs. It turns into invisible vapor. It rises. It climbs the neck of the flask, leaving the heavy, dead matter at the bottom. For a moment, it exists purely as air. It is weightless. It is free. But it cannot stay there. If it stays as vapor, it is lost. It disappears into the ether. It must be caught. It must be cooled. It must be forced to condense back into liquid form and drop down into a new vessel. This cycle, boiling and condensing, rising and falling, is called circulation. The alchemists had a phrase for this: volatilize the fixed and fix the volatile. You must make the heavy body light, volatilize the fixed, and you must make the light spirit heavy enough to stay, fix the volatile. What does this mean for you? Distillation is the practice of living in two worlds at once. It is the ability to raise your consciousness to the level of the divine, and then bring it back down to the level of the human. Most people think spirituality is about escaping reality. They want to meditate and float away into the clouds. They want to be vapor. But the alchemist knows that vapor is useless if it doesn't rain. Distillation is the discipline of taking your highest realizations, your epiphanies, your visions, your God moments, and condensing them into your daily life. It is the act of bringing the code down from the cloud and installing it on the hard drive. This process is repetitive. One distillation is not enough. The alchemist distills the liquid again, and again, and again. Each time, the liquid leaves behind a little more impurity. Each time it becomes clearer. Each time it becomes more potent. This is the grind of the great work. It is waking up every day and choosing the higher thought over the lower thought. It is catching yourself when you slip back into the lead behavior and immediately correcting the course. It is a constant cycle of rising above your instincts and then reintegrating that wisdom into your actions. This phase is where the light body is formed. You are scrubbing the soul clean. You are removing the final traces of the old you that survived the fire and the rot. And as the liquid becomes pure, as it becomes crystal clear, it reaches a critical mass. It is no longer water. It is no longer wine. It has become something else entirely. It is a substance that contains the fire of the spirit, but flows like the water of the body. It is concentrated life force. The alchemist calls this the elixir. But the elixir is still fluid. It is still vulnerable. It can still be spilled. It needs one final transformation. It needs to become solid. It needs to become permanent. It needs to become a stone. The vapor has condensed. The elixir is purified. The final stage is at hand. The vapor has been caught. The spirit has been distilled. You now hold the elixir in the flask. It is pure. It is potent. It is vibrating at the frequency of the divine. But it is still fluid. It is still subject to the winds of change. To finish the Magnum Opus, the alchemist must perform the final and most difficult miracle. He must make the spirit solid. He must take the highest frequency of consciousness and lock it into the lowest density of matter. This is coagulation. The element is earth, but it is a new earth. It is the resurrection. In the ancient texts, the philosopher's stone is often described not as a gold rock, but as a red powder, the Red King. Why red? Because red is the color of blood. Red is the color of life in the physical body. Coagulation is the moment where the spirit stops floating above the body and actually becomes the body. The separation between you and God collapses completely. You are no longer a spiritual person trying to be good. You are a force of nature. The volatile has become fixed. The glitch that we spoke of in the beginning, the anomaly of the human brain, is finally updated. The software has successfully overwritten the hardware. You are no longer operating on the survival scripts of the lizard brain. You are operating on the gold frequency. And because you are solid, you are permanent. You cannot be burned because you have already been calcined. You cannot be drowned because you have already been dissolved. You cannot be deceived because you have already been separated. You are the stone. This is the state of the master. He walks in the world, but he is not of the world. When he walks into a room, the atmosphere changes. Not because he says anything, but because his very presence is a transmutation. This is the true definition of the projection of the stone. Legend says the stone could turn base metals into gold just by touching them. This is a metaphor for the coagulated soul. When you reach this state, your presence alone elevates the people around you. You turn their lead, their fear, their doubt, their anger, into gold simply by being near them. You do not need to preach. You do not need to convert. You simply are. You have become a living generator of reality. And so, we return to the question we asked at the very beginning. Why are we here? Why did nature create a creature that is weak, slow, and fragile, but gave it the mind of a god? Because we are the bridge. We are the mechanism by which the universe observes itself. We are the alchemists of creation. The 7 operations were not a history lesson. They were an invitation. They were a blueprint left behind by those who escaped the simulation before us. Hermes, Plato, Newton. They walked the fire. They walked the rot. They walked the vapor. And they left the door open for us. But the door is closing. The world is getting louder. The distractions are getting stronger. The lead is getting heavier. It is becoming harder and harder to hear the signal through the noise. That is why you are here. That is why you listen to the end. Because you are part of the fracture. You are part of the remnant that remembers the gold. The laboratory is now open. The vessel is your life. The furnace is your heart. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for a guru. You have the sulfur. You have the mercury. You have the salt. And now, you have the code. The only variable left in the equation is your will. Will you remain lead, or will you become the stone? The fire is waiting. The great work is yours to finish. The 7 operations are complete. The only variable left in the equation is your will. We have reached the edge of the map. Look around you. Most people turned back at the fire. Others drowned in the water. But you are still here. That alone proves you possess the capacity for the stone. But alchemy requires declaration. Do not leave this laboratory without leaving a trace. Go to the comments and leave your mark. Tell us, which stage is your current battle? Are you burning in calcination? Are you rotting in fermentation? Or are you rising in distillation? Write it down. Solidify your intent. Let the others see that they are not alone in the fire. And finally, the system is designed to make you sleep. This channel is designed to wake you up. If you are ready for the next key, subscribe now. Defy the algorithm. Choose the awakening. I will see you in the void. Detunes reality.